Right, so without further ado, today I'm going to go into a lesson on comprehension close clues. Now, this is what I hear in class. Many times when I ask you to use contextual clues to solve your comprehension close passages, a lot of you will then ask me, what do you mean by contextual clues? And we all have different understandings, right? As I've gone around and I've spoken to you and I've looked at your work, it has appeared to me quite clear that there's not a very consistent understanding of what we mean when we talk about using contextual clues to solve close passages. Now, can I just ask all of you to take a moment to think about what are some of these strategies and techniques that you use to identify contextual clues? And just put your hands together and count roughly how many strategies do you use to identify contextual clues? The answer will range between 1 and I don't know how many lah, right? So can I just see a show of hands? Y'all can either use the virtual hand or you can physically just raise your hand. How many of you think that there is one contextual clue strategy only? Okay, that's almost nobody. What about 2 contextual clue strategies? How many of you use only 2? What about 3 contextual strategies? Now, I don't want you to look at the title of my slide and go, yeah, it's going to be 5. But you honestly tell me what you are using. 3, okay, I have a few hands there. Okay, I see a few hands. 4, okay, thank you. 4, okay, I see a few more hands going up. 5, okay, right, okay, I see like no hands. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I take it that we are roughly averaging around 3 or 4 comprehension strategies on the whole, okay? Comprehension close passage strategies. So today I'm going to introduce you to the 5 that I mean when I say contextual clues, okay? And then we'll see whether it matches with what you understand or whether it overlaps with what you understand. And I'm going to codify it. By codify, I mean I'm going to attach a particular easy way for you to remember it using an acronym so that you can remember every time you hit a comprehension close, this is what you do. Okay, you're welcome to add to the 5, but these are the 5 core that I've chosen. Why 5? Because there are 5 fingers on my hand. It's easy for me to remember the number 5 and it's a significant number. Okay, but it's not exhaustive. There's more. There could be less. It's up to you. But I find these 5 the most useful. Okay, are we ready? If we are, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to go into the 5. Okay, awesome. Okay. At this point, there shouldn't be any questions, right? I will go along and then as you have questions, you can accumulate them in the WhatsApp chat group and I will try to answer them as we go, okay? Please do not unmute to ask your question because that will disrupt the flow of the meeting, of our time as well, because I'm very conscious of one half hour is very short. Please type it in the chat and I will address it if it's relevant to the flow of my lesson, okay? Are you all comfortable? Are you all ready? Then let's go into it. Awesome, I see the thumbs up. Right, let's go. All right, so let's keep the momentum. There are 5 contextual clues I'm going to talk about today, and they are related only to close passages, right? So close passages are passages where words have been removed, and you are supposed to fill them back in again, right? In a way that's coherent and effective in retaining the meaning of that particular passage, okay? So just so we understand what's a close passage, Okay, so now let's go into the first clue, which is inferencing or making inferences. Now, can you all remember in reading with meaning, the strategies you all learned in primary 4 and 3, you learned inferencing as one of those 4 strategies, right? Okay, making connections, visualizing. Inferencing was one of them. So inferencing is my first and most important tool. All right, so what is inferencing? Inferencing is looking for clues within the surrounding words and sentences in a passage in order to infer or to deduce or to take from it what is the missing word, and that may include all kinds of words, right? So this strategy applies to all kinds of missing words, right? Let me give you an example, right? Heavy rain and strong winds are expected when the what hits. Now, can anybody tell me, don't tell me the answer, the answer is obvious, right? I purposely made it very easy, but can anybody tell me what are the contextual clues of inference? What can I use as surrounding words that inference the answer? Raise your hands if you can tell me what are some of the words. Okay, okay, Joshua, go ahead.
Heavy rain and strong wind.
Thank you, and I hope you are feeling better, Joshua. Heavy rain and strong winds, absolutely correct. Okay, so that's one clue. There is another clue that Joshua has not mentioned, right? Which I'm sure he also knows, but I want someone else to answer. Ariel, go ahead. Ariel, can you hear me? Yeah, unmute yourself. Can you see what is the second clue? Oh, okay, Ariel's mic is not working. No, Ariel, not are expected. Okay, there is another word that clues you in to the missing word, right? So there are many things you can expect, right? But that doesn't narrow down the answer. Adrian, we want to give it a try?
Hits.
Hits, very good. So something that has heavy rain and strong winds, and something that hits, right? That hits the city or hits the place that I'm in, right? So obviously, when we put all these clues together, it is very obvious to us that we are looking at the word storm, right? Some kind of a storm that has heavy rains, and it is able to, a storm can hit a city quite severely and cause power outages, collapsed roofs, and all of that, right? So that's using surrounding words to inference an answer. Another way to use inferencing is to apply it to looking for synonyms and antonyms and other related words in a sentence. Now, hands up if you know what a synonym and an antonym is. Okay, right? I think most of us do. Who does not remember what is a synonym or an antonym? Please wave your hand at me so I can see. Is there anybody who cannot remember what is a synonym or an antonym? Okay, I see Nicholas waving his hand. Right, so very quickly, a synonym is a word that is the same or similar meaning as another word. And an antonym is a word that has an opposite meaning from that word. Okay, so a synonym of happy might be overjoyed. An antonym of happy might be depressed. Got it? Okay, so synonyms and antonyms are often denoted by connectors like and but, right? So if I have a synonym, I usually connect it with and. He was happy and ecstatic. Antonyms, on the other hand, are usually connected with a but, right? He was sad but reassured by what had happened. So there are two opposing or antonymous words. Okay, so synonyms and antonyms can be powerful clues. Let's look at this example. He was angry and that his favorite toy had been taken. Right? So again here, the connector and tells me that I am looking at a synonym or an antonym. Anyone? Duncan?
Upset.
Let me repeat my question. The word and, does it tell me I'm looking at a synonym or an antonym? Shani?
It's a synonym.
It's a synonym. Thank you. Excellent. So I'm looking for a synonym that has the similar meaning to angry, connected by the connector and, right? So let me reference you to the word that Duncan used earlier, right? Duncan said upset, right? So angry and upset. Does that work? Is it synonymous? Yes, it is, right? And it can function in that sentence. So I use the principle of a synonymous word, synonym, in order to predict the answer that comes after a connector and using the previous word angry. So angry is angry and tells me it's synonymous with the missing word, and therefore I work backwards to look for another word that has a similar meaning to angry and fits the synonymous rule and. Everybody clear with the idea about how to use inferencing? So inferencing works either with surrounding words and sentences, all right, generally to infer the meaning using clues like strong winds and heavy rain, or it can work very specifically by looking at words connected by connectors like and, or, and but, and examining whether they are antonyms or synonyms or related words. Okay, so these are two powerful tools that you can use to narrow down your search for the contextual clues and highlighting these words very effectively. Okay, so that's tool number one, and I'm right on schedule. Tool number two, parts of speech. Okay, parts of speech. Can you all remember what parts of speech are? Let me review and revise with all of you. Right, parts of speech are the different types of grammatical words that can occur in the English language. And here I will hold up my hand with 5 fingers to remind you that there are 5 major types of words that we've learned, that I've referenced in class, that all of you should be able to recall, right? What are the 5 major word types or parts of speech that we have learned in class? Anyone? Just name me a few. Rattle off a few. Raise your hands if you can remember the 5 parts of speech, the 5 types of words that we have covered in class. Remember I talked about the thumb, right? And then we did all those funny, connections and everything. What do each of these fingers reference? Can anyone remember? Raise your hands if you can remember quickly, so we move this lesson along and we can end by 1:30. Anyone? Really? Nobody remembers? Okay, Kanish, go ahead. Kanish, you're muted. I can't hear you. Nope. No sound. Can't hear you. Maybe your microphone is not working. Can someone else try, please? Anyone? You can't remember what these fingers stand for? Do you remember your nouns, your verbs, your adjectives, your adverbs, and your prepositions? Right? These are the 5 major word types, right? So when I talk about your parts of speech, I'm talking about your nouns, your verbs, your adjectives, your adverbs, and your prepositions, right? And we've covered what each of these word types are and how they're related to one another, okay? So let's take a look here. Now, the word strong is an adjective, right? I'm sure you all recall that. Now, what type of word does an adjective always modify? What type of word does an adjective always describe? Can anyone remember? Yes, Shani, go.
A noun.
A noun, very good. So therefore, looking at the word next to the missing word, identifying it as a verb, as an adjective, tells me that it is very likely that the next word after it is going to be a noun. So I'm looking for a noun, and I'm looking at the contextual clue. I'm inferencing from blew the roof right off the house. So something blew the roof right off the house. Something, because it's a noun, right? It's something. So what blew the roof right off the house? What was that something? What is the missing word based on my identifying of it as a part of speech as a noun? Anybody? What blew? Yes, Adrian, go.
Wind.
The wind, very good. The wind, the tempest, right? Any kind of synonymous word that references the wind is good to go here. So the wind, or the strong wind, blew the roof right off the house. So if you know your parts of speech and you know how they relate to one another, it is very easy to narrow down your answer to the correct part of speech and then pick the correct word. Okay? So always remember, when you inference, you also look out for parts of speech. So we build on inferencing by identifying the type of word that is missing here. And how do we know the type of word? We look at the word that's before and after it. Okay? For example, if I have an article, the boy, then the word after the is obviously a noun, right? Boy, the car, the boy, the swimmer, the accident. All words coming after articles are always nouns, right? The quick brown fox. Quick and brown are adjectives. Fox is a noun. So adjectives always modify nouns, and so on and so forth. So if I know the types of words, right, I very easily identify what is missing. So the second one here, as you can see, quickly is an adverb, right? So can anybody tell me what kind of word an adverb always modifies, or what does it always inform me more about? Okay, besides Xuan Yi, can someone else please answer so we have more participation? Okay, yes, Duncan. Duncan, please answer.
Verb.
A verb, very good, thank you. And earlier, Joshua raised his hand. So the adverb quickly modifies the verb, right? So he quickly did an action in order to go into the burning house. So I'm looking for an action that he did, right? Joshua, what do you think this action might be based on the word quickly and the burning house?
Ran.
Ran, okay? Ran, sprinted, dashed, right? Jolted. So all these words that have the synonymous meaning of running gives me the idea of a verb that fits next to an adverb. So do you understand? The word that's neighboring the missing word, if you can identify what word class they are, and you can identify what they are doing to the missing word, you can very, very easily identify what the missing word is. Okay, so parts of speech is a second powerful principle. So inferencing, to tell you what the general word is, parts of speech to narrow down to what type of word it is, right, gives me a very powerful tool set to get the correct answer. Okay, so far any questions? Okay, No questions, right? Very straightforward, right? So my first tool is inferencing. My second tool is parts of speech. My third tool is prior knowledge. Now this is a little bit more hit and miss, right? And this is where all your Mayon reading and all your book reading and all your library visits will come in very, very strongly. Because the more you read, the more you know. And the more you know, the more you will find familiar when you do your comprehension closes, right? Because as you read, right, you will be very familiar with many different diverse topics outside of what we cover in Stella, right? And when you look at the comprehension close, very often it will be related to something you've read before, encountered in a TV program, watched on a YouTube video, read in a particular non-fiction book, or saw in a newspaper article, right? So read, read, read. The more you read, the stronger your prior knowledge will be. And the more experience you have and more familiarity with different topics and subject matters, the more educated your guess will be. And what do I mean by an educated guess? I mean not just anyhow shooting in the dark, right? I guess accurately because I know something about the topic or subject matter of the passage. And again, your next question will very logically be, but Mr. Pang, how do I then know what is the topic or subject matter of the comprehension passage? Because very often there is no title to tell me, right? That is where you need to always look at the first paragraph of the passage. Now, every passage in PSLE and every exam paper has been designed such that the first paragraph always tells you the introductory information to the text. In other words, you can deduce very quickly what this passage is about simply by reading the first paragraph. Just the first paragraph, okay? So, looking at the first paragraph, what should I look out for? If it's a non-fiction text, an information text, I should be looking out for the main ideas that will be covered in the rest of the paragraphs, right? If I'm reading a narrative, it's a story or fable or fairy tale, then I should be looking out for the main characters and all of the setting details that will tell me what this story is going to evolve into or show me or bring me on a journey for. Okay? So first paragraph, essential to activating your prior knowledge. If you want to bring to bear all your experience and your knowledge, you first need to know what the subject is for your paragraph, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, whether it's information or it's a narrative. Then you bring to bear all your prior knowledge and you try to educatedly guess what the missing words are. Okay, so the third rule is prior knowledge. This is a bit more hit and miss because it really depends on how much you read, how much you're experiencing, and how much you've been exposed to. Okay, and remember, the more you read, the more you view, the more you ask questions about the world around you, the more effective this third point will be, prior knowledge. Okay, so let me recap. Inferencing, rule 1, right? Parts of speech, rule 2. Prior knowledge, rule 3. Okay, all right, so like I said, specific vocabulary related to the subject matter of the passage will help you to deduce. And fourth rule, patterns in the text. Okay, so what do I mean by patterns in the text? This brings us back to the text again. There will be very clear patterns in every text, right? Because of this idea about rhythm and cadence. Now, rhythm and cadence in English simply means that authors like to write in certain set ways. After they write for a while, they develop certain patterns in their writing. And if you can identify these patterns, then you can predict what will come up next, right? It's like, if I give you a pattern, left, right, left, right, left, right, then what's the next one? Right? Yeah. Then after right should be left, right? So if you follow a pattern, you can very easily predict what is the next move that someone's going to make. Likewise, in a passage, if you predict a pattern, you can predict what is the missing word that comes after that particular sentence, okay? So what do I mean by that? Okay, reference the overall structure and the context. So don't just read the sentence you are solving, read the entire passage through first, then zoom in on each individual sentence so that you get an overview of the structure, and then you can zoom in on specific parts of that structure, and then you can predict how that structure is patterned. Let me give you an example, okay? Right, so this is obviously a simple example because I don't want to complicate matters and make you think too much about the content. But look here, the what was not only cold but also damp and dark. It seemed to stretch on forever with no end in sight. As they walk deeper into the what, their flashlights begin to flicker and fade. So what is long, interminably long? What is cold and damp and out of the light and therefore very dark, right? Can you see that there's a pattern here? The first sentence leads on to the second sentence, And the second sentence reinforces the first sentence by giving more information about it. Okay, so you can see that there's a pattern being built about what the subject matter is. In this case, what is long and cold and dark and damp and therefore out of the light? What is it? Someone please just tell me and put me out of my misery. Thank you. Besides the people who have already answered, can I hear from somebody else like Javen or Amelia or Angel or Roshan? Try.
Tunnel.
A tunnel? Very good. That's a possible answer. Genevieve, what do you think? Do you agree with Roshan or do you have a different answer?
Cave.
A cave, very good. Yep, that's also a possible answer. Right, so you can see in this case that multiple different answers can fit into the same blank. And that is the beauty or the horror of comprehension close, right? That's why it takes so much time for us to go through comprehension close. Because there's not always just one fixed answer like math or science, right? In math, if you work through an equation, you arrive at one fixed definite answer. There may be multiple methods, but there's one answer, right? But in English, you can work through multiple methods and arrive at multiple different answers. So it is slightly more complicated to navigate. But in this case, both answers are absolutely correct. I would say cave is the simpler answer. Tunnel actually is better because it tells me it's a long cave, right? So some caves are really very narrow and very small. Some caves are super long and very convoluted. So tunnels would be that version of a cave that's long and convoluted. So I would say if I grade the degree of the answer, cave and tunnel are both correct, but I would say tunnel is a better answer. Qualitatively a better and more precise answer. Do you all get the idea? Okay, so both answers are acceptable, but one is better than the other. And that's English for you, right? It's not just about what's right and what's wrong, but it's which is righter, which is better than the other. And this is not so important now because we have answer keys that we mark to, but in future when you go out to work, you will not just want to choose the correct answer, you will want to choose the more precise answer, right? Because the more precision you have in your language, the more accurate you are in your communication, the better you will be as a communicator. And therefore, as a worker, as a lawyer, as a doctor, as a communicator in whatever field you choose to work in the future. Okay, so very important, choose precision. Okay, next, after patterns in the text, the last one, and we are coming very quickly to a close, the simplest one is reading aloud. Okay, many of my students always make this problem. Okay, always have this problem. They do it in their heads. And then something is missing when you read it with your head. Because you are not meant to read with your head. Do I hear a yes to that, everybody? Do you know that you're not meant to read with your head? Hello, everybody? Yes?
Yeah.
Originally, right, all text was written to be read out loud, right? All communication was originally verbal, right? Because human beings spoke before they wrote. Do you all understand that, right? Writing was invented after speaking. So the most basic level of human understanding occurs when we speak, not when we write. Write is a higher level already. So if you want to really get down to basics and get something right, you've got to say it out with your mouth and hear yourself say it. So there's something here in the connection between what you say and what you hear that helps you to understand better. We're just designed that way as humans, right? So there are many things we look on the piece of paper, we kind of don't really understand it. But when we read it out loud, hey, we kind of understand it. Have you ever felt that way before? Right? You kind of don't really understand a math problem. But when you say the math problem out loud to yourself, you describe it to someone else, or you talk about it to someone else, suddenly you can understand it better, right? It's proven that our brains work better when we vocalize than if we just read it directly from the screen or from the page. So I recommend everybody, when you finish your work, read your sentence out loud to yourself and listen to whether there are any errors or awkwardnesses in the way that you respond, right? If your answer sounds awkward, off, a little, something is not quite right about it, it's your brain telling you that there's a mistake before you even know it. Okay, it's an instinctive response to a mistake in the pattern that you don't even realize, but your brain does. Okay, so always read out loud. Read in the flow and the rhythm of the sentence so that you can hear and then make the corrections necessary. Right? So for example, the young woman gazed out of the window, lost in what? As she watched the raindrops trickle. So when you see the word lost, right, you tend to think about lost for words, or you tend to think about lost in space, right? So those are the common things that come to mind. But when you read it out loud, you realize that those two words don't fit in with this particular sentence, right? It requires that you hear the words being read out loud to kind of, okay, so you're lost in thought, right? Lost in thought. You're not really lost for words, right? You're not lost in space. And that kind of just helps you to clarify and focus on the correct answer. So read out loud. Can everybody? All clear? The last one is very simple, right? I don't think there's anything to misunderstand. So I summarize, and I've put it into an acronymized form so that it's easier for you to remember. RIP. Think RIP, okay? RIP into every comprehension closed passage. RIP into it, okay? RIP into it. What do I mean by RIP into it? RIP simply stands for read your answers out loud to yourself, inference with surrounding clues, look into what type of word is missing, activate your prior knowledge, and finally, use your logical mind to look for patterns in the entire structure of the story to help you to deduce your answer. RIP into the comprehension closed passage. RIP into it. Okay, everybody? So I will, again, send a recording link for all of you because I went like a bullet train, right? I was very, very fast, right? I tried to contain everything within half an hour, and I'm quite successful. It's now 1:30 exactly. It's 1:29 actually. So I have 30 seconds left, okay? So my timing is impeccable, but I know some of you may be a bit lost because I'm a bit fast. So don't worry, go and play my video back at 0.5 times speed if you need to. Or if you think I'm going too slowly, play it back at 1.5 times speed, okay? And then speed through all the comments. I will send the PowerPoint slide and the video to all of you so you can review. And one final note before I dismiss all of you, and if you have any questions, you can stay behind, your homework. Right? I did say that after this, there will be an activity on SLS, right? Did you all remember that? Awesome. So I have already released the activity, but I paused it, okay? And let me show it to you. Okay, so now, new share. Okay, can y'all see my browser page? Okay? And you will see over here, there is a comprehension close Zoom practice that I've paused and which I have now resumed. Okay, so you should be able to access this after you've logged off my Zoom session. Okay, please complete this activity anytime between today, Friday, and when we come back to school on Monday. Is everybody okay? Right, there's nothing major to do. It's just filling in the blanks like comprehension close and doing some simple inferencing activities. Right, I know that it looks quite long. There are 15 sections, but don't worry, it's a very short one. Okay, don't be too stressed out. Do this at your own pace. Do maybe 5 sections a day. Or if you are ambitious, do 10 sections a day. 5 sections should be no more than 10 minutes. Okay? So if you want to do everything in one shot, that's fine. You want to do 5 by 5, it's perfectly fine. But finish this by Monday. Okay, everybody? That's all you need to do. Just this as a SLS activity. If you have any problems with your SLS, please let me know. Right? And I will reset your password and I will make sure that you have access to it. Can? Alright. Thank you so much. I don't want to hold you back. It's 1:31. If you are okay, no questions, and you're good to go, I will see you back in school on Monday. If you want to hang out and ask questions, please stay behind. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for coming.